Hey, what's up to everybody out there? Welcome to another edition of the Roundtable Talk. I am your host, C Money, and in today's episode, I want to talk about a a crucial topic that is striking a lot of protesters here in the state of Florida. I don't know if I did an episode about it, but over 9 years ago, I don't know, I probably talked about this. There was an incident in Orlando, and I probably did an episode about this. I don't remember where um a guy, and this is called the Post Massacre. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. In Orlando, over 9 years ago, a guy went to a Orlando nightclub and shot up an Orlando gay nightclub, which is called Post Nightclub. And the nightclub, he killed 49 people. 50 people got killed. That's including him, but he killed 49 people. It was the most. It was the worst mass massacre killing. I know here in the state of Florida it was the worst mass killing, but I know it was one of the worst mass killings in America. He killed 49 people, and I believe he was supporting ISIS or whatever you call it, ISIL or whatever you call it. But he was supporting now, and the Post nightclub has not reopened since. And the owners of the nightclub, and this is an update. I didn't do a story about this, but I seen a post about this. The owners of the Post nightclub did not want to sell because the city of Orlando wanted to buy the property and turn it into a memorial. The owners of the Post nightclub did not want to sell, but they also was making, wanted to. They started a foundation to actually turn it into a memorial. But along down the line, things happened, and the owners of the nightclub didn't turn it into a memorial. And eventually, the city of Orlando government officials or whatever bought the property, and they are making plans to turn it into a memorial. Now, outside of the Post nightclub, there is a pedestrian mural. If you go into certain cities, they have these colorful pedestrian murals that support LGBTQ communities. The rainbow colors. As you walking across the street, as you cross the street, they have these pedestrian LGBT color, murals that support LGBTQ communities. And now Governor Ron DeSantis in the state of Florida is removing all of these pedestrian crosswalks from areas, and a lot of people are taking heed to this. Not only gay people, but straight people. I seen on the news. Was it yesterday? I think I seen on the news where a lady said her kids are part of the rainbow community, and she was supporting because her kids is part of it. Now, this all started because I believe the city of Orlando and probably other officials wanted to remove these crosswalks from the Post nightclub, and now they want to remove these crosswalks across the state of Florida. And they say Governor Ron DeSantis want these crosswalks to be in compliance with rules and regulations. And I'm like, what rules and regulations? These crosswalks are supporting the LGBTQ communities, and then a lot of people started protesting. They started, coloring with colorful chalk outlines outside of, government buildings, outside of the Department of Transportation in Broward County. They started, recoloring a lot of these crosswalks in certain areas. And I'm like, yeah, I look at it as if these crosswalks does not hurt. I mean, I've never actually walked across one. I know they have them in several areas. I'm quite sure they have them in Wilton Manors, which is a LGBTQ community in Broward County. I'm quite sure they have it in South Beach. I've never actually went by one. I've always wanted to go to one just to experience it because, I've never seen one. I've seen it on TV. I've seen it in, in videos and stuff like that. But, you always wanted, I've never been by one. Let me go by one. I'm not saying that I'm part of the community, but I'm just saying you're one of them people, you look at stuff, it's art. To me, it's art. And for you to do that, that's just like saying that's a hate crime against the LGBTQ community. And I weigh in on several comments on that on several social medias and stuff like that, and I said, this is the way of government of that's like a hate crime, and I've said it, that the government is trying to, because a lot of these, what compliance is made, if it's done, if these crosswalks was actually done in compliance with, the communities and stuff, and a lot of these people agree with it, why remove them? It wasn't like they were poorly done, number one. It wasn't like they wasn't, I'm quite sure they went through the proper channels to do the paperwork. Now, I would see if you would say there wasn't that these crosswalks wasn't approved by the city officials to be created. I would understand that you will have to get these crosswalks approved. Like, it would probably be some random person just, painting these crosswalks and stuff like that. No, you will have to get approved by city officials to actually have these crosswalks painted, and designed like this. I agree with that. But the fact that you're taking away for no reason, or they gotta be up to code, appliance, and all that, like what? It's not like it's a building, It's not like it's a car or a store or a shopping center or an apartment complex where you have to go through several code appliances and several, you know, documents to actually, say, okay, we approve of this. No, it's a crosswalk, for God's sake. You're just putting some colorful, paint on there to support the LGBTQ communities in certain areas. But you're trying to say that this is wrong and you're removing it. That means basically you're targeting the LGBTQ communities out here. And I look at it as if, I don't agree with them removing this for several reasons. Because number one, every city and every town and every state is going to have LGBTQ communities. I may live next door to somebody who probably is gay or a lesbian. I may, when I first moved into where I'm at now, there was a lesbian couple that here, and they had kids, and they lived upstairs, and I ended up helping them out because I was, helping them with they had a birthday party for their kids, because in the back of our building we have an open area, for, where we can, do parties or things like that. If we want to do a party or something, we have an open area in the back. And me and my brother, my brother was, I was doing the cotton candy. No, one of us, me and my brother, we was doing the cotton candy and the popcorn, and we were serving the kids. And I was like, hey, I don't, and I work around, LGBTQ, gay and lesbian, coworkers, and I don't knock them for living their life, because you live your life however you want to live your life. And I'm not going to say that, I hate them, because everybody has somebody in their family that is a gay or lesbian or, transgender or, or whatever. And I don't look at it as if, hey, you are, I don't badmouth people, because those people have to live their life as well too. A lot of these people, they say that, the number one reason that people become, homosexual is that they got molested as a kid by either a family member or somebody, and then it turns out, and that's true, But I look at it as if you gotta understand something. These are actually human beings as well too. They're not just, bad people. They're not just, oh, he walks around in a dress and a wig. I don't know. They're human beings. These are people that was born a man or a woman, and they decide to want to be, you're born a man, you decide later on down the line you want to be a woman because that's what you feel. Or they're a woman and they decide that they want to be a man, and they want to be an FTM, which is female to male and stuff like that. And I've seen, videos, and I'm like, okay, that's how you live your life. I'm not gonna, badmouth you for living your life. That's not my, forte. But I'm not gonna badmouth you or criticize you, like a lot of people. And by you removing these crosswalks from these communities, it's like saying we don't support the LGBTQ communities. But you're not saying it in a way that it looks hateful. You're saying it as if, oh, they got to come up to code compliance before we can. Nah, just say that you don't want these LGBTQ community catwalks out here, and you don't want them out here. So now you're trying to make it seem like, okay, until they get these up to code. What code? I want to know what they mean by that. What do you mean? They don't have a permit to actually, and they say that the city officials and governments was the ones that the city officials and stuff like that was the ones that approved that had these catwalks and I mean these crosswalks created. You know, how is it that y'all approve of these to be? And then they say Governor Ron DeSantis didn't want this to be like some type of, you know, protest or community like thing with these crosswalks. And I'm like, first of all, these people are protesting because you took them away. This is not no political stance or nothing like that because of these crosswalks. These crosswalks are showing love to our gay and lesbian communities. These crosswalks are showing love that say that we are here for you, you know, because you are fighting now. Cause and a lot of you may hate me for this, or you may criticize me for this, or you may have a negative vibe on this. The LGBTQ community are fighting the same fight as the African Americans fought in the 40s and 50s and the 30s and 20s. You know, they are fighting hate crimes because remember back in the day, you know, coloreds, we had to go to separate bathrooms. We couldn't we had to sit in the back of the bus. We had to do this and do that. You know, we was considered, you know, we was living in, you know, hate crime years. We was living in the times where, you know, we couldn't, you know, we pay our money and we had to enter through the back of the bus. We couldn't sit at the counter at the restaurants. We had to drink from the colored water fountain, and you know, we was back in the segregation time. And it's the same way with the LGBTQ communities, you know. You know, yeah, now these days, yes, there are gay people that go inside of these straight clubs or go inside of these strip clubs or go inside of these nightclubs and they blend in with the straight people. But you have, well, now you have to, you know, back then, back in the 90s, you know, a lot of the gay people couldn't walk down the streets of Liberty City here or couldn't walk down the streets of, you know, Brooklyn or, you know, Orlando streets, or you couldn't walk down certain streets in, you know, California or in New York or in Texas as a gay person because they would bash you. And there are certain cities that still will bash you for being a gay person. I had a friend of mine who was from Cincinnati, Ohio, and he said that if they found out you was gay, you know, they will bash you and stuff like that. And I was told, and this is a fact, that in Jamaica, the highest for hate crime, the highest form of crime, the highest form of crime out there is being gay. And if they find out you gay, they'll try to kill you. That's why they say a lot of gay people that live in Jamaica, they either live on the outskirts of Jamaica, where they don't live in populate, like they live in the outskirts of Jamaica, or they move to America, where, you know, they get all their proper, you know, visa and they proper, you know, things that they need, and move to America where they can be free and they can be themselves, you know, because they feel like I can't live in Jamaica and live in fear. And this basically what, you know, and these crosswalks are saying, we are here for you. We are here to support you. We are here to let you know that, hey, even though, you know, there are people out there that may not like you and that may not, you know, we as government, because you can't be a governor of a state, or you can't be a commissioner or a state representative or a congressman, you know, and come out and say, I hate gay people. Remember when Ron DeSantis, you know, don't pass that don't say gay law, and he was fighting with Walt Disney World, and I did a story about this because remember Walt Disney World, like 60 to 70% of their workers are the LGBT community. Because how many men like myself, you know, I probably would do it, but how many men like myself would actually dress up as Peter Pan and walk around and, hey, I'm Peter Pan. You know, you won't see people like 50 Cent or Rick Ross walking around, or or LL Cool J working as a Peter Pan inside of a Peter Pan costume and stuff. Just hypothetically speaking, you won't see no regular everyday hood person walking around. I'm Peter Pan, and a percentage of their workers are LGBTQ communities. And when he did that, he took an insult to the working class there at Disney World and a lot of these other parts. That's why Disney World was planning on moving out of the state of Florida. I don't know if they I don't have no update on that, but at the same time I felt like, you can't be a governor or a politician and not support the LGBTQ communities, because a percentage of your voters is going to be your community, going to be the LGBTQ community. And if you come out publicly, just like with Trump, publicly, allegedly, Trump can't come out and say, I'm racist, I don't like black people, because he's the president, But there has been allegedly, because I am a YouTube based show, allegedly there has been rumors that his parents are, racist, and that he is racist. But at the same time, you can't come out and publicly say, I don't like black people, because you're a president. You know how many voters you will lose? Because you not only lose the black vote, you will lose the mixed race vote, because there are a lot of mixed race people out here, half black, half white. You're going to lose a lot of white people votes, because a lot of white people who are dating black people. You have these athletes, these black athletes that date white people, and these white people that date, the not only black athletes, but you have these black men and women that date white people. You have these white people that date black men and women. You're going to have a lot of votes, and not just with the president, but with politicians, and you got to look at it as if these crosswalks in these cities, if they put one here in Miami, well, they do got some in Miami, but if they put it like in the urban areas, it will probably be people that will be in support of it, because they felt like, my neighbor is a lesbian woman, or my neighbor down the street is a gay man, so I support this. I support this because you're supporting my neighbors, you're supporting my family members, you're supporting my community that is here, and I would support it because I felt like everybody needs to be welcomed in every city. There's a city, and I'm going to do a video about this in the near future, sometime soon. There's a city in Broward called Wilton Manors, and Wilton Manors is a 95% LGBTQ community. Like everywhere you go at in Wilton Manors, and I'm gonna do a video about it, because remember, it's a city that is predominantly to gay and lesbians. They have gay nightclubs, they have gay bars, they have gay businesses, gay restaurants, gay office buildings, medical buildings, stores, stuff like that. They have everything that you can imagine, and they open, and they're openly to the gay community, and stuff like that. And I've been through it. I've passed several locations of it, and stuff like that. There was a Hamburger Mary's that's there, and Hamburger Mary's, if you don't know, I visited the Hamburger Mary's in Orlando, and Hamburger Mary's is a chained restaurant catering to the LGBTQ communities. And I visited one in Orlando, and it's a great place. It's in downtown Orlando. I don't know if it still exists there, because they had one in Wilton Manors, and they opened it up. It was open, they closed it, then they reopened it back up, and then it closed again. And Hamburger Mary's cater, it's a restaurant for everybody. Me and a friend of mine went a few years back in Orlando, and they do like drag shows, meaning live performances with drag, queens and transsexuals and stuff like that. And everybody's welcome, and their food is a phenomenon. They have good food, I kudos to them, because it's basically like a burger joint, and it's a chain restaurant. And I look at it as if, these places are fine, these places are good. I like them, I enjoy them, and stuff like that. So I want to know, what do you think about this? What do you think? Comment at the bottom of this page. Email me, roundtable00@yahoo.com. Do you think that they're good for getting rid of these crosswalks? Do you don't think they're good? Let me know. Let me know what you think. Comment. I thank you for watching this. As always, stay safe, stay blessed, stay hydrated, and I will see you in the next episode. Take care.